Hi, and welcome to a Drafthouse Diary for Friday, July 5th, 2024, when I went out once again to the Alamo Drafthouse at Littleton's Aspen Grove to see Inside Out 2. I'm a little torn about this movie, and that kind of fits because the movie is really broken down into two parts, just like the first one. We've got the outer story about Riley, and we've got the inner story about all the characters representing Riley's emotions inside her head. In this sequel, the external story about what's really happening with Riley and her life is more interesting, it's more complex, it's more nuanced, and that makes perfect sense because Riley is growing up. She's getting ready to enter high school. Her world is more complicated, and therefore there's more story for us to follow there. And her story involves going to hockey camp and the tension between wanting to make new friends among the people she's going to be going to high school with and wanting to maintain her relationship with her longtime best friends who are going to be going to a different high school. Very interesting stuff and lots of hockey. The interior story about the emotions, it was still interesting. It had some additional dimensions, but overall it was not as interesting or as satisfying as it was in the original movie. What's happening as Riley gets older in the interior world and her emotions is a bunch of new emotions are showing up. It's no longer just joy, fear, anger, and sadness. There's also anxiety and embarrassment and ennui. And these represent her more complex emotions. Makes perfect sense. But the adventure story they give these characters with another quest through Riley's mind and subconscious, it seems more derivative. It seems more of a rehash of what came before. And in particular, there were times when there was novelty, but it seemed like it was forced novelty. They did so much interesting and excellent world building in the first movie. There were times when I wish they had relied upon that more and let us see the world that they had built instead of insisting on adding new elements. Sometimes it seemed for the sake of adding new elements. For example, in the first movie, they establish the train of thought as a specific thing moving from one part of Riley's interior world to another. For a plot point in the new movie, they introduced the stream of consciousness. It seemed like novelty for its own sake. Bring us back to the train of thought. Is there really a huge difference between the metaphor of the train of thought and the metaphor of the stream of consciousness? They could have focused more on story and less on novelty for the sake of novelty. That said, it was still very enjoyable, still great performances in both parts of this story. Some very interesting additions and interesting opportunities for humor with the new emotions. I think ennui is going to be a favorite for a lot of people. They had interesting points about the connections between emotions old and new, with sadness seeming to be attracted to embarrassment. You can see the connection there. With fear being impressed by anxiety, which is, after all, being afraid of things that aren't even real or real yet. So those were interesting and nice little details. All in all, it was a worthwhile sequel. I enjoyed it. There were just a few things they could have done better to make it rise to the level of the original. Other parts of this trip to the Alamo Drafthouse. The pre-show was created specifically for Inside Out 2. It was a combination of things that referenced the emotion aspects of the movie and a bunch of hockey references, and I liked that combination just as I did in the movie. There was a musical performance of I Second That Emotion. There was a public information film, instructional film about not getting angry. But there was also a long excerpt from the Canadian animated film about a hockey jersey called The Sweater. There was a bit from the Dana Carvey show about hockey, and there was Peter Puck. I remember Peter Puck. Peter Puck was an animated hockey puck that came on TV to explain the rules of hockey to people who didn't know. And this was used on, I think, some CBC broadcasts in Canada, but also in network broadcasts in the United States. I think it was on NBC when they were showing hockey games on Saturday afternoons. And back then, in the 70s, apart from the North and Northeast, hockey was not well known in the United States, and they were trying to make it a more popular sport. And this Peter Puck character to explain what on earth is going on the ice, that was a nice touch. So it was fun to revisit with Peter during this pre-show. One of the most interesting parts of the pre-show was something the Alamo put together, which was talking about influences on Inside Out, specifically from earlier Disney properties. There was an old Disney short about reason and emotion and how they interact in a person and how they are represented by people inside the person's head. And its point was mainly how a young person is mostly ruled by emotion, and reason has more control over the person as they grow and mature. Whether that's accurate, I'll leave for you to decide. There was also a bit from the Epcot Cranium Command, which was kind of horrifying, and the short Gerald McBoing Boing, which is worth looking up. It's just so weird. So this was a fun pre-show because it hit various aspects of the movie, and it enhanced my understanding of Inside Out and Inside Out 2. We did also get some dinner at this trip to the Alamo. I had the fried chicken sandwich once again. That's consistently good, and I enjoyed it as I usually do. My darling wife, who was with me, tried something from their 1984 Time Capsules bonus features menu. She got the Luck Dragon Pizza, which says that it is inspired by the Never-Ending Story. It has spinach herb ranch, charred broccoli, goat cheese, baby spinach, mozzarella, and Parmesan on their usual thin crust. The report on that is that it was not as good as the Brussels sprouts and bacon pizza that is now on their regular menu. And that pizza has the Brussels sprouts, and it also has the goat cheese, and it has bacon, which definitely adds something to that pizza. The components of this Luck Dragon pizza didn't quite come together as well. The ranch sauce doesn't add much except more moisture. So the recommendation there is between the two, go with the Brussels sprouts, goat cheese, and bacon pizza instead of the Luck Dragon. As for the rest of the theater experience, we were once again late in being admitted to the theater, so we missed the beginning of that pre-show. I don't know if we missed anything other than a part of that Canadian hockey jersey animation, but it's always disappointing when we don't get a chance to see that entire pre-show. But it was still a fun night at the movies. I hope you enjoyed this Drafthouse Diary. If you did, please click the like button, and if you want to be sure to see more of these as they come out, click subscribe. But most important, thank you very much for joining me. I'll be back soon with more. In the meantime, enjoy your movies, and when you do, stay till the end of the credits.